Good afternoon, students. Now we are moving on to module 4. Okay, so this module 4, in module 4, we are going to learn about e-payment. That is, how financial transactions can go via internet. Can these transactions be secured? So we'll be seeing about the different types of e-payment systems, the different types of different methods whereby we can do financial transactions, we can do money payment via internet, and we'll be seeing certain methodologies that will be making financial transactions more secure. So we'll be focusing only on payment, e-payment or financial transactions alone in this particular module. So we'll see what is a payment system. So in e-commerce, payment is a very important element because what we do through e-commerce is trade. So we are going to have goods or services that's going to be exchanged for money. So money need to be transferred from the consumer to the merchant. So we need to have proper methods whereby a consumer can do the payment, that too in a secure way, and on the other side the merchant can receive the same in a more secure way. So all business activities need the support of payment system, and so does e-commerce also. So as e-commerce process transactions through the internet, it requires a more secure and stable efficient payment system for supporting commerce done electronically. So everything is going to be done through electronic means, through digital media. So you require transactions also to be done in the digital way. So we need to secure our transactions so that the transactions can be done without any hindrance. There are basically 5 main types of payment systems. So whenever we need to have any particular goods or service received for payment, we can make the payment in 5 different ways. Normal, that is not in the digital way alone. Basically when we are going to buy anything for money, then we can pay money through different modes of payment. So what are the different modes of payment, or what are the main types of payment systems? So we are going to have 5 different types of payment systems. So payment for any good or service that you purchase can be done via cash. It can be done through checking transfer. It can be done via a credit card. It can be done through stored value exchange. It can be done through accumulating balance. So these are the 5 modes of payment that any customer can use in order to pay for any good or service that he has purchased. Okay, so cash is the fundamental method. You pay something for cash. You will be giving cash after getting the good or service. For the goods or services that you have availed, you will be paying back in cash. So legal tender defined by national authority to represent value, that is cash. The definition for cash is it is a legal tender that is defined by national authority to represent value. So cash basically represents a value. So most common form of payment is cash. So it is in terms of number of transactions. The key feature of cash is that it can be instantly converted to other forms of value without intermediation of any kind. That is straight conversion. You have this much of amount, you purchase for 1500, you give 1500. So immediately that particular value is got in terms of cash. So value can be easily converted for whatever good or service you have purchased for a certain money value. That money value is easily available through cash. You can replace that value with the corresponding cash. So cash is portable, requires no authentication, and provides instant purchasing power for those who possess it. Once you have cash in your hand ready, you can instantly purchase out anything. You don't require any authentication because straight away you're going to pay the money. So you don't require any authentication, any third party in between. You trade with a particular merchant, you go to a shop, you trade for certain goods, and you will be paying back the amount in cash. So that is instant payment. Once you have cash, your transaction can happen instantly without any authentication required. Now, cash allows for micro payments. That is, if you want to have very small payment done, it may not be that much feasible with credit card or any other debit card transaction. It's most feasible with cash. Okay, for small payments, cash is the best way to have. So the use of cash is free, in that neither merchants nor consumers pay a transaction fee for using it. So for any other transaction, you will be having a transaction fee that is connected with the transaction, but for cash you just pay for it, and there is no other service charge or no other transaction fee that is associated with a cash payment. Now, if cash is anonymous and is difficult to trace, in that sense it is private. Okay, so how much of cash is available with me, that is private to me, that is totally anonymous. The cash that is residing with each and every person is known only to himself, so that particular knowledge is always anonymous. Cash always remains anonymous, and it will be known only to the person who possesses it. It's private to the person. Now, the main limitation of cash is that it can be easily stolen. Then it's limited to smaller transaction and does not require any float. So it can be easily taken away. Cash can be easily taken away, stolen, and it's limited to smaller transaction. Bigger the transaction, it's very difficult to have it in to do it in terms of cash. Okay, so bigger the transaction, it's very difficult to transact in terms of cash. Now, float is nothing but period of time between a purchase and actual payment for the purchase. So it does not provide any float. That is, once you have a credit card payment done, you make the payment and you will be billed only at the end of the month. So you have a time period between the purchase and the actual payment. Wherein in the case of cash, it doesn't provide you with any float. The moment you purchase, the very same moment you need to pay the money in cash. Okay, so you don't have any time gap between the time of purchase and the moment in which you pay the money. The very same time you collect the goods or service, the very same time you pay back the money. Wherein in the case of credit card, you will be having a time of float. That means you purchase at the beginning of the month, you need to pay only at the end of the month. At the end of the month only you will be billed by the credit card bank, and you need to settle all the credit card payments only at the end of each month. So you have a floating period. You purchase at the beginning of the month, you need to pay back the money only by the end of the month. So you have a period of float. So that is cash. So that is the simplest form of money payment, your ordinary method, the conventional method. You do it in cash. Now, second type is checking transfer. So funds directly transferred via signed draft to check from a consumer's checking account to the merchants or other individual. So that is, you do payment in check or draft, demand draft or check. You take a demand draft for the amount and you will be giving that particular DD, or else you will be having a check that will be issued to the merchant, and that will be cleared at the merchant's bank. Now, most common form of payment in terms of the amount spent. So you will be writing the check only for the amount to which you have purchased against, and also DD also will be drawn only for the particular amount that need to be remitted. Now, it can be used for both small and large transactions, although typically they are not used for micropayments. So it is suited for both type of payments, very small payment or bigger payments, but it is not actually used for small payments. Now, checks have some float, that is, it will take some time for clearance. So it provides you some time to have a time gap between the time at which you give a check and the time at which your money is going to be debited from your account. So it provides some sort of a float, the clearing time that is required for a particular check. So at par check you have cross check. So different types of checks you have. So at par check, in sense, you can do it you can clear it in any branch of that particular bank, wherein a cross check is, in sense, it has to come to your account first and then go likewise. It will be taking more time. Okay, it has to go to the corresponding bank of the particular consumer, and from there to the merchant. So it will take some more time. So it provides some time of float. Checks are not anonymous. Checks are not anonymous. It's going to be issued by a bank against your account. So it requires third-party intervention. That is, in order to clear a check, you require banks to play an important role. So in order to clear your checks are basically issued against your account. Your account should have a sufficient balance. Then only you will be issued with a check, and this check is going to be cleared by the bank as well. So you require an intermediary in order to have a checking payment done. So it introduced security checks for merchants. That is, once a check is issued, the check will be cleared only if the consumer has got sufficient account in his balance in his account. Otherwise, the check will get bounced. Okay, so once a check is issued by a consumer to the merchant is at a risk because it will not be cleared unless otherwise the consumer's account has got sufficient funds. Now they can be forged more easily than cash, so authentication is required. That is the signature on the check that can be easily forged. So different types of malpractice can happen in terms of checking payment. For merchants, checks also present some additional risk compared to cash because they may bounce if there is no sufficient money in the consumer's account. So these are the different types of risk associated in terms of checking payment. You can have forgery happening if a signature may not be valid on the check. Then second one is if the consumer's bank account doesn't have sufficient balance, then such check won't get cleared. The check will get bounced. Okay, when the merchant is going to submit such a check, he won't be getting the cash and the check will get bounced if the consumer's account has got insufficient fund to clear the check. Now the third one is credit card. This is the normal way we all know, credit card transaction. So you will be having a credit card that is issued by a particular bank and you will be doing all transactions with the help of this credit card and you will be billed at the end of the month. So it represents an account that extends credit to consumers, permits consumers to purchase items while deferring the payment and allows the consumers to make payments to multiple vendors at a time. So these are certain features of credit card. You are being provided by a credit card by a particular bank and this bank will be allowing its consumers to make a number of payments using the very same credit card and the payment can be deferred till the end of the month. So for every payment that you make for one particular month, you will be billed only at the end of the month. You got to clear the payments, credit card payments only at the end of each month. So it provides you with some time of float, okay, because you're billed only at the end of the month. Credit card associations such as Visa and MasterCard are non-profit associations that set standards for the issuing bank. So you'll be issued a credit card, a Visa credit card or a MasterCard card. Okay, so that will be having some standards. That will be setting some standard for the banks that issue the credit card. So the issuing bank actually issues the credit card and processes the transactions that you make with the help of that particular credit card. Now, other third parties called processing centers or clearing houses usually handle the verification of accounts and balances. Okay, so we have a credit card that is issued by a particular bank and then all your payments are being processed by that particular bank. In addition to the bank that issued the credit card, you require for a credit card payment, you require another one entity called the clearing house or processing center, which will be doing the authentication part, verification of your account and balances. That will be done by the clearing houses or the processing centers. So for credit card payment, you require the bank's corporation, that is the bank that has issued a credit card for you to take part in the credit card transactions in order to process your transaction, and you require the help of a clearing house or a transaction center, that is a processing center. Credit card offer the consumers a line of credit and ability to make small and large purchases instantly. So it is suitable for both micropayments and for payments that involve a large amount of money. So they are widely accepted form of payment, reduce the risk associated with carrying cash and increase consumer convenience. So you need not carry the cash because cash gets stolen often, as in when the amount is bigger you will be at a risk while you carry cash. So this risk can be eliminated when you carry a small credit card with you and do the payment via the credit card. And with the same credit card you can do transactions with n number of merchants. You can do n number of transactions. Only thing is that you need to settle all those at the end of the month. So credit card offer a lot of convenience to its consumers. Credit cards also offer consumers considerable float that we know it will be charged. You need to settle all the payments only at the end of the month. So with a credit card, for instance, a customer typically need not actually pay for goods purchased until receiving the credit card bill 30 days later. So you make a purchase at the beginning of the month, you will be having a float period of 30 days before you can finally settle out the payment. So it provides you with considerable float. So that is credit card. So far we have seen three types of payment system. One is payment via cash. Second is payment via check or DD. Third one, payment via credit cards. Now we have payment via stored value. So this is the type of transaction in which you have an account with a bank and you maintain a sufficient balance, and you will be transacting against a particular stored value. That is, you have a balance in your account, and whatever purchases you make, that will be transacted against that stored value. Your stored value gets debited by each purchase that you make. The best example is your debit card. On your debit card, you will be having an account associated with that account only. You will be issued with an ATM card or debit card, and whenever you make a purchase with the help of the debit card, the debit happens from the stored value. The stored value or accumulated value is nothing but the stored value is the amount that you maintain in your account. So the accounts are created by depositing funds to our account, and from the funds are paid out or withdrawn as needed a stored value payment system. So you have an account and you maintain a balance out there, and based on the balance you can make different transactions. Your transactions will be debited. The amount for your transaction will be debited from the stored value. So stored value payments is similar in some respects to checking transfer, which also store funds but does not involve writing a check. So it is similar. If you have a check, for that particular check amount, it will be debited from your account. For the particular account only, you will be issued with a check, and whatever amount you try to transact with the aid of a check, that is going to be debited from your account. So similar is in the case of stored value as well. For whatever transactions you do with a debit card, the amount will be debited from your account. So only difference between a debit card and a check is that you don't actually, in the case of debit card, you don't actually write a check. You need not write a check. You need to just present your debit card for the transaction to happen. Now examples of stored value is debit card, gift certificate, prepaid card, smart card. So you have gift certificates that you normally give. If you have 3000 rupees gift voucher, you can just take to Lulu, and from Lulu, if you have purchased that particular gift voucher, you go to Lulu and you can purchase for 3000. Okay, so that is going to be whatever you purchase, that is going to be taken from that particular gift amount. For 3000 rupees you can purchase. So that is, you're going to transact against that particular stored value. So that is another example of stored value type of payment. So debit card, gift certificates or gift vouchers, then prepaid card that you use for your telephone, mobile phones. You have a prepaid card. Till that particular prepaid card amount that you have actually charged, you will be availing the services. Once that particular amount is over, you won't be able to do any further calls from the telephone number. Then smart card. So these are examples of prepaid cards. These are examples of stored value type of payment. So a debit card known as bank card or check card is a plastic payment card that can be used instead of cash when making purchases, that you people all know. Now, it is similar to credit card, but unlike credit card, the money comes directly from the user's bank account when performing a transaction. Then debit cards also don't provide you with any float. So this is a basic difference between a credit card and a debit card. Two differences. In the case of debit card, whenever you make a transaction, the money is going to be debited from your account. Wherein in the case of a credit card, no money is going to be charged from you when you make a transaction. You need to settle it only at the end of the month. So as a result, debit card won't provide you with any time of float, whereas credit card will provide you with considerable amount of floating time. Okay, so that is the basic difference. So these are the common type of payments, and that is based on the number of transactions. So which one is most preferred by the people for payment? Okay, so we have stored value cards 1.5%, electronic money 4.7, debit card 17.1, credit card 18.5, personal checks 21.3, cash payment 35% of people use, then other cards 0.8, then other paper 1.1%. So these are the different types of payments and the number of transactions basically done using that payment system. Now we have the last one, accumulating balance. The fifth type of payment system, accumulating balance. So accounts that accumulate expenditures and to which consumers make period payments are accumulating payment systems. Okay, so we have examples are phone, telephone, utilities like telephone which accumulate balances over a specified period and they are paid at the end of the month. Just as your postpaid, you will be enjoying the services and at the end you will be making the payment. So that is for any particular utility. For electric bill, you'll be consuming so many units of electricity and you will be doing the payment only at the end of 2 months. So we have accumulating balance. That is accumulating balance. All your expenditures are going to be accumulated and you settle it at the end of the month. So that is accumulating balance. Then we have online credit card transactions. So we are over the different 5 types of payment systems. The first one was cash, second one was checking transfer, third one was stored value, then fourth one was stored value and fourth one was, what's the fourth one? Stored value, credit card. Yes, credit card I didn't tell, I believe. So credit card, stored value, then we have accumulating balance. So we have 5 different types of payment systems. Okay, now we're moving on to online credit card transactions. Online credit card transactions. So how we will transact a credit card transaction? How will we do it? Online. So we're going to see what are the different steps in an online credit card transaction. You're going to do a payment online, that too with a credit card. Now what are the different people involved, different entities involved in a typical online credit card transaction? So we have credit cards are the dominant form of payment, most commonly used form of payment. Now online credit card transactions are processed in the same way an online store purchases are, with the major difference being that online merchants never see the actual card being used. Okay, so when you take a credit card to a shop, you personally visit the shop and do the payment. The merchant is going to see your card. Wherein in the case of an online credit card payment, the merchant won't be seeing your card. You will be specifying the credit card number alone to do the transaction. So online credit card transaction mostly resembles MOTO. It is a type of MOTO transaction, mail order, telephone order, mail order, telephone order transaction. So it resembles a MOTO transaction. These type of transactions are called CNP, card holder not present. Okay, we are specifying only the card number. So we cannot actually see the card holder. We cannot authenticate the card holder. Only the card is going to be authenticated, not the card holder. So that is the speciality of online credit card transaction. The card is not seen. The card holder is not seen. Okay, so it is simply like you do a mail order through mail or you do a telephonic order, similar. So since the merchant never see the card, nor receives a hand-signed agreement to pay from the customer, when disputes arise, the merchant will be facing a risk. So that the transactions may be disallowed and reversed even though he has already shipped the goods and the user has downloaded a digital product. So any transaction that is failing through when done or through online credit card payment system, it may be disallowed or reversed even though the product has been shipped to the customer site, or whether any digital product, if the consumer is going to purchase any digital product that has been downloaded to the consumer's machine, then also it can be reversed. Now a dispute is a situation in which consumer questions the validity of a transaction that was registered to the account. Okay, so any transaction that has been connected with this account that has not been done by the consumer, then there arises a chance for dispute. Consumer is making a transaction that is going to be debited from his account. Then once the consumer realizes that a certain amount has been debited and he has not made such a payment, such a transaction, then what happens? There arises a dispute. So 5 parties who are involved in an online credit card purchase are consumer, merchant, a clearing house. We have already seen what is a clearing house. Then merchant bank, It is otherwise called as the acquiring bank, and consumers credit card issuing bank. Okay, so we have the two entities involved in a typical e-commerce transaction. One is the consumer, second one is the merchant. And in order to authenticate the credit card, we have the clearing house. Then we have the merchant bank, which will be finally acquiring the amount that is going to be transacted, and customer's card issuing bank, which bank has issued the credit card for the customer. So that also will be another transacting party. So these are the 5 parties involved in a typical credit card, online credit card transaction. So in order to accept payments by credit card, online merchants should have a merchant account established with bank or financial institution. So in order for money to be transferred, the merchant should have an account. That is the first and foremost precondition. So to that account only money will be finally credited into. Now, merchant's account is a bank account that allows companies to process credit card payments and receive funds from those transactions. So merchant account is an account that will be receiving the money after processing of the credit card. Money will be credited into this particular account. That is the merchant's account. So merchant should have an account with any particular bank or financial institution. And finally, after all processing, money will be credited to the merchant's account. So this is a typical diagrammatic representation of how an online credit card transaction works. So we have one, at the first point we have the consumer who is making the purchase. Now once the consumer is going to make a purchase, we have a connection that is a secure sockets layer connection. Okay, that is going to be done, transaction layer. So we have a secure sockets layer will be providing a secure connection through the internet to the merchant's server, because in order to make orders, the consumer has to connect to the merchant's server in order to have the list of products from wherein he can choose. After which, the third element is the merchant software contacts the clearinghouse after the product has been selected and the online credit card payment details have been provided. In order to do the necessary authorization, the merchant software will be contacting the clearinghouse. Okay, now the clearinghouse will be doing the necessary verification, account verification of the consumer. So that is done by contacting with the, so clearinghouse will be verifying the balance with the issuing bank, so the consumer's card issuing bank. So in order to verify the account balance of the consumer, you need to have the clearinghouse has to contact with the card issuing bank of the consumer. Okay, now once that is done and everything is clear, what happens is the issuing bank will be crediting the amount to the merchant's account, and a monthly statement of the transaction that will be given to the statement of the payment receipt that will be given to the consumer, and the consumer has to settle it at the end of the month. So these are the typical transactions that go in an online credit card transaction. So the first one, consumer will be making a purchase. So for that, in order to make a purchase, the consumer need to have a secure sockets layer connection to be established with the merchant server. Now once he'll be providing with the credit card details, we have to do the necessary authentication. So the merchant software has to communicate with the clearinghouse. Now clearinghouse, in order to have the proper authentication done, in order to check for the balances of the consumer's account, he need to the clearinghouse need to contact with the consumer's credit card issuing bank, and if authentication and everything is the balances, everything is has been properly authenticated, the account has been properly authenticated, then the amount, the corresponding amount will be credited to merchant's account, and the card issuing bank of the consumer will be providing the credit card bill to the consumer, which will be settling at the end of the month. So this is the typical steps that go in an online credit card transaction. So this is basically the steps explained in detail. So first one, online credit card transaction begins with a purchase. So when a consumer wants to make a purchase, he or she adds the item into the merchant's shopping cart. Okay, then second one, when the consumer wants to pay for the items in the shopping cart, a secure tunnel through the internet, a secure sockets like connection is going to be established between the consumer and the merchant server. Using encryption, SSL uses the session during which credit card information will be sent to the merchant and protects the information. So the details regarding the credit card number and all those details, credit card holder's name, everything will be given to the merchant, and during the secure connection, these details will go through the communication channel in an encrypted form. Then, once the consumer's credit card information is received by the merchant software will be contacted with the clearing house in order for proper authentication regarding the account to be done. Now, the clearing house will be then contacting with the credit card issuer bank of the consumer in order to verify the consumer's account in order to do the authentication. Then, the clearing house contacts the issuing bank to verify the account information of the consumer. Then, once everything is verified, the issuing bank credits the credit card issuing bank will be crediting the amount to the merchant's account. Then last one, the debit to the consumer's account is transmitted to the consumer in a monthly statement, the credit card bill that will be given to the consumer for settlement at the end of the month. So this is just the transactions explained in detail. Now we'll see about credit card e-commerce enablers. So who are the credit card enablers? So we have companies that have a merchant account still need to buy or build a means of handling online transaction. So in order to facilitate online transaction, we can have certain third party which will help us to make transactions much more easier and much more secure. These people are called credit card e-commerce enablers. So securing the merchant's account is one of the most important steps in credit card transactions. You need to secure the merchant's account. Internet payment service providers can provide you with both merchant account and software tools needed to process credit card purchases online. So in order to have a credit card transaction to be done, the service provider, internet payment service providers can provide you with both the merchant's account and software tools needed to protect the credit card purchases online. So every purchase that you do via internet needs to go in a secure way, and whatever financial transaction you do, it should be hassle free. You should be that should be done in an easier way, and that too in a secure way. So that is the basic way in which challenge that the e-commerce enablers have to handle. So for example, an example of an e-commerce enabler is Authorize.net. Authorize.net. It's an internet payment service provider. So it helps a merchant to secure an account and provides payment processing for installation on the merchant's server. So you will be having many merchants, that is in many e-commerce transaction, the website itself provides you with a transaction facility. In order to transact your amount, the website itself is providing a transaction facility, financial payment facility. So in order to have the merchant's website to provide you with a payment facility, you need to have the service of an e-commerce enabler. So merchant's account need to be secured first, and then on the merchant's website you need to have the proper installation of the payment system to be done. Okay. So the software collects transaction information from the merchant site and routes it to Authorize.net, the payment gateway, to appropriate bank, ensuring that the consumers are authorized to make their purchase. So this particular payment system that is attached to the merchant's website, that will be receiving all payment related information, and this information will go to the e-commerce enabler. For example, we have taken Authorize.net. So whatever information we gather related to the payment from the merchant's site through the payment system that is being attached to the merchant's website, that details will ultimately go to the e-commerce enabler, that is for example the Authorize.net, and then all the authentication and all those things will be done by this e-commerce enabler. So funds for the transaction are then transferred to merchant's account. So after the transaction is complete, the amount will be credited to merchant's account. The account amount will be credited to the merchant's account we have. Now what is a payment gateway? We'll stop with this. What is a payment gateway? A payment gateway is an e-commerce application service provider that authorizes payments for e-businesses, online shopping, etc. So a payment gateway protects all credit card transactions, and it will be encrypting the sensitive information such as account numbers or credit card numbers to ensure that the information passes securely between the consumer and merchant, and also between merchant and the payment processor. So you have certain payment gateways which will be making the payments more secure. Okay, so it will be allowing credit card payments. It will be encrypting all payment related information, so that will be secured. Whatever payment related information you pass on to the merchant, a consumer may pass on to the merchant, that goes secure, that goes in an encrypted way, okay, by the payment gateway, and to ensure that this information will be passing secure to the merchant, and also between the merchant and the payment processor. So from that is, once you have a payment related information that is provided by the consumer on the merchant's website, that is taken, that has to go to the basic payment processor, that is an e-commerce enabler, and from there to the proper clearing house, or to the merchant's bank or the credit card issuer bank. Likewise, it has to go. So all those transactions should go in a secure way. So we need to have the assistance of a proper payment gateway that will be securing both the information that is going through the communication channel, and also protects the channel as well. So whatever payment related information that goes from the consumer to the merchant's website, and from there to the processing agent, all those transactions will go in a secure way, in an encrypted way, with the help of a payment gateway. So examples of payment gateways are PayPal, Google Pay, then Visa, Payment Express, Westpac. So different examples of payment gateways. So it does two things. One is, it helps to have sensitive information to go in an encrypted way, and that too through a secure channel. So whatever transaction that happens between the consumer to the merchant, from the merchant to the processing person, that is the processing entity, the payment processor, from the payment processor to the clearing house, from there to the consumer's credit card issuer bank, from there to the merchant's bank, all these minute transactions, everything is getting secured by means of a payment gateway. So we'll stop with, and we'll continue in the next class.